Is time once again for another edition of Goodwin Square. Stories from around the country of people well meaning but just did not get it right. Today, our story takes place in the capital of Phoenix, Arizona, where 4 years ago I was a homeless person on the campus of the homeless community there. Now, during my time on the campus, which featured dormitories, co-ed, lunchroom, break room, day room, everything homeless man or woman could want, I started noticing some things about a woman there in particular, one woman there in particular. She was always by herself, and she kept to herself constantly, while the other women would cackle and gackle about the campus and come and go here and there and disappear for a time and then reappear for a time. This woman was always on the campus. And she was always by herself. She was always alone. Now, after a while, I came to the deduction that she was a lesbian. And that's why she was constantly by herself, without any female companionship. Well, this got me to wondering about, how women might treat other women. And it's like, why hasn't some good woman come along and saved this lesbian? And why hasn't some noble first responder man, taken her in and rescued her? Be he gay or straight. Anyways, I was curious about her. So one day, during lunch, I found her sitting at a table in a very crowded cafeteria by herself. So I said, I have to do the gay interview. And I did. And, she was kind of shocked that I sat next to her, or I sat at her table across from her, and kind of startled, which kind of gave me the notion that she was a lesbian. And we talked, and I picked the subject, and the subject was home. The subject was housing. And she talked, and we talked, and she talked, and we talked, and it was a great conversation about, what do you like? What food do you like to cook? What kind of a kitchen do you like to have in your place? What kind of furniture do you prefer? We had a good conversation, but my conversation at that time, it really showed me that she was a lesbian. And time went on. And we both went about our ways on the campus, around the, campus and such. And for me, fortunes, waxed and waned and stuff like that. But for her, she was always on the campus, and she was always by herself. Up until the time I left Phoenix, Arizona, and that campus, she stayed by herself. And not only was she always by herself and always on the campus, because I knew other women on that campus, and they would, mysteriously disappear for a weekend and then reappear, sort of glowing and, return to homelessness. But she was always on the campus, and she was never gone. And it's like, okay, well, it's sad sisters do that to one another. shall we say. Because I know with faggots, they certainly do it with the men, you know. But I couldn't believe that women would do that to other women and leave her homeless as such. And not in time, I suppose, I mean, she started to, get cruddy. And clothes started to getting tattered. Shoes is what I remember. Shoes started getting raggedy. And I even had to, get to the point where I said, and her name escapes me now, but my experience with her does not. I had to actually say, so-and-so, it's like, these shoes, like, why don't you go get a pair of shoes at the day center or something like that? Because these are really looking ratty and stuff. She said, I don't care. I'm there, no, it's free. It's like, anyways. It's Lunch with a Lesbian. 4 years ago, on this beautiful June morning, the year of the brides, the month of the brides here, on Goodwin Square, in Goodwin Square.